Hi everyone, I'm Shelley and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. I'm back with another question the narrative video, and this one is called Mudfloods, Resets, and Giants. And a couple months ago, I made a video about what I believe to be some man-made mountains in my area. And I believe that they are actually spoil tips from giant mines. Now, first of all, I want to say that I am blessed to live in a really, really beautiful and fascinating part of the world in eastern Pennsylvania, where there are just so many great things that really make you think if you have your eyes open to the possibility that things haven't always been as we have been told. So I did talk about what I believe to be a spoil tip, and I had compared this to some other spoil tips from actual mines, and I did share that also. So what you see here is an actual, I guess you could call it rubble pile from a coal mine that I drive past every once in a while. So I took a picture of it. And if you compare it to what other spoil tips or refuse piles, rubble piles from mines look like, it is very similar to what I showed in the original photo that I showed you of what we call mountains now, but what really don't look like mountains. They look like something that is left over from a mine, and it would have to be a giant mine. Now, a lot of times when we speak of giants, a lot of times people will think of giants that are maybe 9 feet tall, 10 feet tall. And in order for something to have created a pile this large of refuse from a mine, they would have to be much, much larger than like 9 feet tall, 10 feet tall. They would just have to be several stories high at the very least. And a lot of people just think that that's absolutely insane. But it's not if you think about the fact that things used to be much larger. It's thought that the oxygen was much higher at one point in time. So even a lot of times you will find fossilized animals that are exactly the same as they are now, but they are gigantic. And you might be wondering why I'm going back to this when I've already talked about this. And it's because I've actually found some other things that correlate with this right behind my house. I live in front of a part of what's called the Slate Heritage Trail, and it is an amazing place to live. And I've said that before, but I can't stress that enough. Now, I want to point out that this part is actually on the other side of the river, and if you look closely at it, it does underneath look like it would be a spoil tip also, but I always wondered about the fact that this side of the mountain seemed to have so much more vegetation, even though there is vegetation on the other side. I had always wondered, would vegetation grow on a spoil tip like that? And when you realize that a lot of seeds are carried through the air, it's certainly possible. But we actually visited, oops, I don't know what happened there. We actually visited a nature center, and we're told by the nature center that they planted the trees and the vegetation that are on this portion of the DNL trail. So it wasn't there naturally. This was actually planted by the nature center. So that just kind of confirmed to me, all right, it's very possible then that this might have been, just kind of all the leftover pieces of rocks at some point. Trust me, I am going somewhere with this. So I just wanted to explain to you what this is. What you are looking at is what I was talking about behind my house. And I just mentioned the fact that the giants that would build mines like that would have to be huge. And you would think, what would support that? Is there any other evidence in the area of beings that big or anything being that big? And so as I went for a walk with my husband and a couple of our children the other day, I realized that what I was looking at really did look like the remains of a petrified tree, and not just any petrified tree, a gigantic tree. So I'm just going to show you some footage that I took there, and you can make a judgment on that yourself.
Look at the size of what I definitely think is petrified wood. This would have been at one point a massive, massive tree. I'm still going. It's all the way down. That's why I enjoy this trail so much by my house, because there are so many cool things. And down here farther is what looks like to me to be a giant footprint. I'm just going to go up and show you how high up this is too. And even my husband, who is up there and is very skeptical, he said to me, yeah, that's definitely petrified wood. And as you can see, it's still going. Still going. So much of this world is not what we're told.
And so next I'm going to show you just a few more seconds of more footage of more of the same on this trail. It's everywhere. And I just also want you to take a look at these trees sitting on top of what I do believe to be a petrified tree. So we've got trees sitting on trees, if you ask me. And to me, and just to look at the size difference between the two, to look at what trees once were and what they are now, you've got to realize how scaled down everything else is. But let's just take a look at this footage here. This one's not as long as the last one.
And here's another one. I don't know if this would be a part of the same one or a different one. Not quite as long, but yeah. So much fun living here.
Okay, and now to the part where you're going to think that I've completely lost my mind if you haven't already. But I just want to point out to you that this is all speculation. This is all done not only in curiosity, it's done in fun. And I really do find these things to be intriguing, and I enjoy myself when I am actually racking my brain thinking of this stuff. So I posted a photo of this on Instagram, and it's not this exact image, asking everyone what they thought it could be. And someone had mentioned that it could be drainage. Someone had mentioned that it could be like an entrance to a cave. And one person said a giant footprint. And that is exactly what I think it looks like it could be. So let me just show you this now.
So less than 5 minutes away from where I just showed you those giant trees, here's what I believe to be a giant footprint. And I've shown this before, and I kind of like said it jokingly, but now that I see all of the evidence between the man-made mountains and the huge trees and what definitely looks to me like a giant footprint. And I have better pictures from when it's not so overgrown, but Ireland, can you go in there and just point out? No, it's okay, I'll hold the camera, you just, so tell them what you see in there. So that looks like what would be the heel. Show them where the heel would be.
Heel, and then this is the indent, foot, and then
Like the instep. Go up to the big toe. Can you go up there?
Yeah.
So up there it looks like where a big toe would be. And go show where the other toes would be then.
Like right here, because there's an
Yeah.
indent in each one.
Yeah, and you can really, really see it when before the vegetation starts growing back in the spring. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so I mentioned in that video how it was overgrown and it was a little bit hard to see the outline of the toes and everything because of the vegetation. But if you notice, I posted this on Instagram in May of 2021. So I've known about this for a while. And I just want to show you, you can see it a little bit more clearly here because there's not so much growing out of it. So let me just show this to you.
This is really interesting. I don't know if this will do it any justice, but this actually looks like a giant footprint. Like if you look over there, it looks like the big toe would be there. And then there's a bunch of what look like imprints for the smaller toes. And it looks like it comes all the way down here, again to the heel. So, neat.
Toes in the heel.
So really tying those three things together, the what I believe to be the spoil tips, and then the giant trees, and then what looks to be a giant footprint, all in the same area, it really does start to make you wonder. And I really have to encourage everyone to just explore your own community, because every town, every city, no matter how big, no matter how small, has a story to tell. And it's up to us to find that story, because a lot of times we're not going to be told this on our own. I've had so many questions about this trail that I've actually emailed the town historian a few times, and he hasn't even been able to answer all of my questions. So that really does go to show that if the town historian doesn't even know the answers to your questions, and they weren't really even obscure questions, how much more is there that we don't know? So anyway, so even beyond what I believe to be evidence of giants in the area, I've mentioned this before on this channel, but I have to show it again, because every time that I go down there, I am just astounded at what I see. Because to me, it looks like there is evidence of a reset and mud flood. Now, first of all, I have to say, obviously, that if there were once giants and now there are no longer giants and we're trying to find evidence of them, that in itself is a reset. But I believe that there are also more recent resets. And, things like what I'm finding on this trail certainly look like there could have been something. So here, and I've shown this before, this is right into the hillside. What looks to be some sort of, I don't know, it looks like it could have been a wall at some point, right sticking straight out of the hillside. So this actually is the ruins of, I'm not even sure what the ruins are. I know that there used to be a slate factory there, and there was even a mattress factory that burned down, which is how Bedbug Cave got its name. But I'm not sure if that's specifically what this was, but this is the remains of something that was once on the trail. And what do you notice inside this wall? You notice what looks like what was sticking out the side of that hill, which was several hundred feet down, like down further, like before on the path. Great English. I always have such great English in these videos. I promise you, I really do love grammar, just not when I'm speaking without a script. But anyway, so if you look here, that looks very close to what was sticking out of the hillside. So that's what really makes me think, was there once a wall running straight down the entire path? Was it once a gigantic building running down the entire path? I don't know. But again, there are stories that are begging to be told that we have no clue what even happened. And this is just another shot of some more of the ruins that are there. Okay, so now we are actually back to my Instagram page again, because these photos that I took back in 2021, they just really capture exactly what I'm talking about. So I just showed you the little bricks or some sort of building structure that looked like it was sticking out of the side of the hill. And then you have what really looks to be like a right angle in the hillside. And this is actually right at Bedbug Cave. So over here is the entrance to Bedbug Cave. And this is where all of the mines, or the mines that they say were there, the tunnel quarry they call them. And there are all these tunnels that run all underneath the most of the town. And one of the entrances, or at least the only entrance that I know of, is right over here. And isn't it funny that it's right where it looks like there's some sort of man-made structure? Now, people will tell you, well, that's just a hillside. If you are there in person, you will understand what I'm talking about how perfect this angle is. So here is just some more photos of what is sticking out of the sides of the hill on this trail. And that definitely doesn't look natural to me. Some more of the same. Now this does definitely look like slate. I will say that this looks like slate here, and it was a slate mine. But you have to wonder, does it occur naturally like that, or did someone pile that up in there? Some more of something sticking out underneath this tree here. And this, to me, looks like petrified wood. Some more of, I don't know, this also kind of looks like petrified wood here. Maybe, I don't know, do you have things like this in your area? What do you think of them? And that, again, it looks man-made. It does not look like it occurred naturally there. But that is what people will try to tell you. Oh, that's natural. I don't know. That looks exactly like what was inside the wall of the ruins of the building. That looks like a tree on a tree. There are bricks, obvious bricks. You can't even try to say, oh, well, that's just normal slate, or that's just the geological structure. No, this is bricks. It's some sort of stone bricks sticking out of the side of the hill. And I wish I would have had the forethought to kind of try to peel away some of the dirt around the outside of that. But I didn't at the time. I think it was just because it was up the hill a little bit. It probably would have been hard to get to. Plus, I had all of my children with me, and I kind of have to keep track of them also. But there are bricks sticking out of the hillside. And I just can't help but think, no one asks about this who lives around here. Most of the people that I talk to who live here have never even been on these trails. I've only lived here 3 years, and I love them. I'm obsessed with these trails. And the people who grew up here, they don't even notice them. So now here, let me go back. I just have some more that I want to show you. And so with this one, this is also at Bedbug Cave, and I just want to show you how high up this goes. And I'm hoping that in this video it will show you that angular structure too of the near the cave. Let's just see what this is.
People are always asking how high the rock
See, there it is, right there.
is around the cave entrance. Cave entrance is right there through those trees, like
right over here.
Down, you see like the opening there. And this is how high up this goes. Like even on here on video, you can't even tell. It's a lot though. It's really high. People are
okay. And let me just check out this one. It's just showing more of that.
Toes in the heel.
And
this is really interesting.
I showed you with the footprint. That's just my children. So anyway, yeah, that's, you can't help but wonder about stuff like this. Now, other things that I did want to show you also, I know this is today's video is really just me meandering through my town. So you'll have to excuse me for kind of maybe going off on a tangent like this, but it really isn't a tangent because again, it still brings to mind all of the possibilities that we all have right under our feet that we're completely overlooking. But anyway, I do have some more photos here of, first of all, let me show you this. Excuse me. So I found this photo on Instagram the other day, and I really wish that I would have remembered who I got it from. If I find it, I'll put the link in the description box. But so this was lumberjacks. I believe it said it was taken in 1915. I'm not sure. But even that, look at the size of the trees. And we know that there are gigantic trees. What are they? Sequoias in California. But even this tree wouldn't have held a candle to what I was showing on the trail. It would have been massive. And some of these next few photos just really show what to me is very obviously petrified wood. I mean, look at that. I actually feel like if I would run my hand over that, I would get a splinter. That's how much like wood it looks. So that right there is, I actually asked my husband if he would feel it and tell me what he thought that it was. And I thought for sure he was going to tell me that it was a rock. Because yes, my husband is very skeptical when it comes to this sort of thing. And I think that healthy skepticism is a good thing. But what he came out with when he told me was, he said, yeah, he's like, that's definitely petrified wood. And so, yeah, he's skeptical, but he's also not unwilling to see the possibility that this is a tree. That's how easily you can see the similarity. If you have anything like this in your area, like take a look at it, take pictures, share it with people, send them to me. I would love to see these things. And here's some more right here. And again, it definitely looks like wood. So, what this looks like to me, especially like if you look at areas like this, it almost looks like the inside of a tree after the bark has been stripped away, and then what's left over inside. That's what that reminds me of. So anyway, yeah. And then we talk about the mines again with the mining. And I just want to point out to you that if you look at things like the Grand Canyon, if you know what mines look like, what mining quarries look like, you would realize how similar this looks to a mining quarry. But again, it would have to be with giant sized people, because obviously people like you and me are not going to be able to mine an area that size. Well, sure, we could, but would we be able to mine it to that extent? So in comparison, here is just kind of a shot that my daughter was able to take from the car as I was driving past of the coal mine, or the quarry that is, it's probably about 30 to 40 minutes from my house. And you can see the similarity. Now, obviously, they wouldn't be mining for the same type of minerals there or the same types of ores, but you can see the similarity of how it looks after something is mined. And again, yeah, it really does kind of make you think about the Grand Canyon and what a giant size mine would possibly look like. So anyway, I think that I showed you everything that I wanted to today. I do want to go back though, because I've been wanting to share a lot of the emails that people have been sending to me. And I'm sorry that it takes me so long to get through them. So I'm going to try to show at least one email at the end of each video. I know that it's going to take me a long time to get through that, but it's better than nothing, right? So here are some really interesting photos from someone named Bruce, who has been sending me lots of mud flood photos from Syracuse, New York. So here is one with the obvious mud flooded windows. And this is actually very similar to a lot of the buildings that are very close to my house. So you can see it. And at my house, and it looks like it here too, like the sidewalk goes right up against the window. There's not even like a gap in between it. The sidewalk is just bam, right there at the window. Here's another one that he sent that had actually been excavated and then redone. So right here, I'm assuming is where the sidewalk actually is. And then if you go down now, that is how far below the sidewalk level the windows actually went. And again, there's another building near my house that actually has an entrance. It looks like the sidewalk was excavated away from that too, and there's like now an entrance that is down here where these windows are. So this is something that you do see in a lot of towns, and I've also seen this a lot in Allentown, where they will have like something below sidewalk level, and then something at sidewalk level, and then something above sidewalk level. So it's almost like they just kind of made what used to be the first floor the basement, and then what used to be the second floor is now the first floor, except you have to go up a couple steps in order to get to it. So it's just, it's confusing, but if you saw it, you would understand. So here you can actually see again these windows that are below sidewalk level, and the sidewalk goes on a slant, and it looks, the building does not. And there we have that. Very, very cool photos. Okay, so we have very similar to the first photo that I showed you, and this here looks to be, it looks like it either is or was a door at one point. Okay, so this is Snowden Flats. Again, we see street level windows again, and I know that there are buildings and houses that have windows that are strategically placed there to let light in, and I know that there are coal chutes. I know what all those things are, but there are also buildings that have windows that are very clearly built as windows, and the rest of them is underground. And you can see that this is true when you see excavated buildings that have windows that are half underground. So this is a real thing. This isn't something that, we just make up. So here we have behind Snowden Flats. And you have to wonder, with the whole idea of, oh, it's to let in light. If they're to let in light, then why are they boarded up? And here again, we have what definitely looks like to be a door. So I'm sure that there are some steps that you go down here, and then the door is down here. And again, a lot of times on these buildings, which what a lot of people call tartarian structures, so you can call it whatever you want. I call them mudflood buildings because I think that they were built before some sort of catastrophe happened. They will have the same sort of, red brick arched windows. They'll have the same look. And again, I know I've repeatedly said this, but we have the same types of buildings right in my little town. And I've noticed it's usually in the downtown areas. The most populated areas is where you're going to find these buildings. So here we have some more of the windows, and this is, I believe he said, on behind the storefronts on Salinas Street, I believe he said. But again, you see what we have here to be the mud flood windows. We see the arches, and I believe that he thinks that this was possibly a window that was made into a door. And so what we see here, it looks like they took what were clearly once windows, because as he pointed out in his email, they did a very poor plaster job of covering them up, but they made the use of these windows and turned them into air vents. But you can see that they were clearly once windows. And this here is the Syracuse Suds Factory. Beautiful building, actually. And again, you still see a lot of the hallmark red brick arched windows. And this is also the Suds Factory. And as you can see the bricked up windows down here. Clearly not to let in light. And right here we have, again, what looks to be maybe excavated out of the sidewalk here, because we have the sidewalk here. And you can see kind of the edge of it there also. And then you have what looks to be a window that would otherwise be underground if the sidewalk were going right up against it. And if you can see, you see like the little arched bricks there. And a lot of times that's what you'll see at street level, is just the little bit of arched brick that's left over. And that's how you can tell there is a window there. You just can't see it. And it's not a coal chute, because, you can't get a coal chute in when it's this far underground and the sidewalk is still up against it. So you have to wonder, why was it there? And a lot of people will say, well, they did that when they put the sidewalks in. That's how they did it. How do you think those homeowners would have felt to have the entire first floor of their house or their building buried because of the sidewalk? I don't think that would have gone over too well with them. So I don't really think that explanation works out very well. Someone else, well, actually, I've read a few articles where they say that the reason that the sidewalks I should say that the windows are down like that is because when they put the plumbing in, the underground plumbing, that they had to put it like raise the street level up because of that. And I actually had a plumber comment on one of my videos and tell me, no, that explanation doesn't hold water, because you can't have a plumbing system above the plumbing itself, like where the toilet is, because you're going to have toilet basements. And I don't understand, all of the technicalities of it, but I'm going to take a plumber's word for it that whole thing just wouldn't work out. But anyway, I want to thank you, Bruce, for sending me all of these great photos. And I want to just thank you all for listening. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one either here or over on Instagram. And if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I hope you have a great day.